Hi, this is in response to Ryan L2202 on YouTube and Captain Haddock on r/academic biblical. Ryan says you should try doing ASMR. So I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm talking softly and I'm gonna talk even softer once we get started. And Captain Haddock says a number of things about possible Greek etymologies of Hebrew words. So I'm going to combine them. And I'm going to do Hebrew etymology, just talking about it casually in an ASMR style. So that way my low speaking voice can become a boon for me. So let's get started, okay? I'm going to try to be calming and slow and try to be ASMR. All right. So I'm going to say these in a list. I'm not sure if I'm going to say them all and then respond after saying them all, or if I'm going to go through as I'm going, but let's see how it feels. Now I'm just reciting Captain Haddock's list of Hebrew etymologies with possible Greek loanword status as about 4 sources that the captain refers to, claims there might be. And I'll tell you right now where I'm going with this. I think these are quite dubious. A lot of them. Not necessarily all of them, but I don't see the need for these when there's certain problems with them. So, despite my oppositional tone, I will keep my vocal tone calm, I hope. Maybe I'll even try whispering here and there. All right, already 2 minutes in, for Christ's sake. Additionally, numerous potential Greek words have been identified in biblical Hebrew, says Captain Haddock. Hebrew Betula seems borrowed from Greek Parthenos, same meaning, with metathesis and the following standard consonant shifts, P/B and R/L. Hebrew Kad, pitcher, is related to Greek kados, same meaning. Hebrew Kara may be a loanword from Greek kurio. The Hebrew root suach, calm down, as in Genesis 24:63, may be loaned from hesuchos, calm, quiet. When the prophetess Deborah chants, Ori, Ori, Deborah, Ori, Ori, Daberi, Shir, meaning, rise up, Deborah, rise up, pronounce a song, Judges 5:12. It seems to be borrowed from Ornumi, rise up, wake up. The name Rivka, Rebecca, who is found/discovered by Abraham's servant, may be derived from Greek eurisko, find, discover, with the diphthong eu being pronounced ev, e.g. Euripides - Euripides, Eugenia - Evgenia, Euclides - Evclides, and so on. The chest or small boat in which Moses was put on the Nile was made out of gum, loaned from Greek komi, gum, Latin gumi, which is the plant material from which boats on the river Nile were made, according to Herodotus 2.96. The term lishka/nishka, which seems to indicate a space located close to the temple, which hosted some kind of cultic activity, may be a loanword from the Greek lesha, which has the same meaning. Hebrew pilagesh, concubine, may be from Greek pylakis / pylakon, / pylakis, or pylake. Hebrew merika, sword, from maraika, Genesis 49:5. Hebrew kileson, fork, from glochis slash glochin, 1 Sam 1, 3, 2, 1. Hebrew laish, lion, from lis, Job 4:11, Proverbs 30:30, etc. Hebrew matzah, unleavened bread, from maza, barley pastry. Again, the suggested lone sources are Greek in all instances. Continuing. Hebrew lapid, torch, possibly related to lambas, torch, Genesis 15:17, Judges 7:16, etc. The non-Semitic name Sisera can be related to Greek Sisura, which means cloak made of goat skin. The book of Daniel contains at least 4 Greek loanwords, all the names of musical instruments. The Hebrew word for palanquin, apirion, in Song of Songs 3:9, may be a Greek borrowing. The sources: Yaakov S. Kupitz, 2014, A Stranger and City Girl. Lukasz Nisiolovsky, Shpano, 2014, Philistines as Intermediaries. Amelia Masson, Recherche sur la plus ancienne époque sémitique en grec. I'm sorry, I've never studied French, so I hope I did okay with that. And finally, B.J. Diebner, Wann sang Deborah ihr Lied? Überlegung zu 2 zur ältesten Texte des TNK, 1995. Okay. This is fun stuff, right? Now I'm gonna ask you, should I be whispering? Because some of the ASMR people do whispering. So I'm gonna ask you right now, if you are relaxing to this ASMR sound of my voice right now, does this sound better? Does whispering make you relax even more? But I'm gonna go back to just a quiet, soft, but vocalized manner here, and let's talk about a couple of these options. I responded specifically about 2 words here. I just decided let's go with the first one here, which I'll repeat. Hebrew betula seems borrowed from Greek parthenos, same meaning, with metathesis and the following standard consonant shifts. The consonant shifts of P/B and that of R/L. Well, I don't know which reference claims that these are standard consonant shifts, but I don't see why they would be necessary. Because Greek has an R and an L. Hebrew has an R and an L. So no shift would be required by the inventory of vocables, or it probably has a technical term, but it probably has a technical meaning, so I'll avoid saying that. But the inventory of consonants, I guess we'll call the inventory doesn't require a shift. And if those are standard shifts, well, why? I want to see the argument that those are standard consonant shifts, which I admit is totally possible. This is not my corner. But I've got enough expertise to get by, and that expertise is located in my lexicon library. That's right. I just look these things up in dictionaries. That's basically all you can do when you're researching etymologies. And I looked up betula. That's Hebrew for virgin. And well, it's also Semitic for virgin in some very close cognates and a number of other Semitic languages. So, Dula, that's the Ugaritic dictionary, the main one that everybody uses. That's a that's a pretty fun one to use. Pretty easy to use, and it's definitely nice that there is just one Ugaritic dictionary that matters. There's also just one Ugaritic corpus that matters, and everything is transliterated into the Roman alphabet, so it's all easy to read. And the fact that everything from Ugarit was published all at once, and the fact that the reference books for reading and interpreting those materials is so concentrated that it does not require a bookshelf. It's just two books right there. That makes Ugaritic one of the easiest of these languages to study. And it's a joy to read Ugaritic because they have a couple of vowels, which helps, and it's really similar to Hebrew, actually, and so it gives you a wonderful, a wonderful and easy to read, easy to study body of work that's a great introduction to the Semitic languages. If you're considering studying the Semitic languages, Ugaritic is a great place to start. I totally recommend it. You can do it on your own. You don't need some professor to give you assigned books because, like I said, there's just the corpus of inscriptions all in one book. And then there's one main dictionary. It's called Dulat. It stands for a dictionary of Ugaritic in the alphabetical tradition. And then you can choose the grammar of your choice. Gordon's was the standard back in the day, but that was a long time ago. And that was before all of the stuff was available in the sources that I'm describing. That was when not everything had been quite dug up yet. From the Raz Shamra library. That's the archive where they found all of these texts from Ugarit in Syria all at once. So Ugaritic is the first one that I looked up because that dictionary is easy to use and fun to use, and it had a cognate to Hebrew Virgin Betula, which actually has a T on the end, as Betelet. And that is basically the same form that you get in Akkadian. And I was able to break out a dictionary that I haven't had the pleasure of being able to use yet because it's volume 1. It's an Akkadian etymological dictionary, really recent from 2020. And it seems that just volume 1 is out so far. So that's all that I've got. And volume 1 covers words that start with P and B. Letters P and B. So you can't look up the etymology of any old Akkadian word using this reason source, just stuff that starts with P and B. And I was excited when I was looking this up because I said, hey, I can look up this word because it starts with B. So I did, and I got to see this wealth of etymological relations and cognates that are in this Akkadian Etymological Dictionary from 2020 from De Grooter, or however you pronounce that. So my argument that I mentioned to Captain Haddock was when there are this many cognates in Ugaritic, Akkadian, Aramaic, other Semitic languages, the Proto-Semitic and pre-Proto-Semitic substrate, a suggestion of a Greek source, a Greek borrowing, well, a Greek borrowing into Hebrew relies on the existence of the Greek and Hebrew languages. Ugaritic times were before the Bronze Collapse, about 1200 BC. That was a time of great tumult all across the ancient Near East, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Canaan, everywhere, all up and down where civilization was. Anyway, that's the time when you go from where you hear words change, like after the Bronze Collapse, you stop hearing about Phoenicians and you start hearing about the Punic, which are usually considered just Carthaginians, but they're all seafaring, coastal, Semitic peoples. And the Bronze Collapse is also when you see approximately the beginning of Greek as we know it. There's a couple of Linear B inscriptions from, I think, about that time, just not too far from there. And then the Greek literacy actually came fairly late. Greek writing came fairly late, and Hebrew came quite late indeed. Some people look at a Abacadary from about 1000 BC and say that is an example of early Hebrew, and a couple of stretchers see it even farther back, like 1100, getting right up to that Bronze Collapse date of about 1200, maybe a little more. But the inscriptions we can count on being Hebrew are rather late. I suppose I don't want to mention specific dates because I don't have a ton of confidence in them, but Kuntilat Ajrut is considered half Hebrew, about half Hebrew language and Hebrew script, and also Phoenician. The scripts look the same to me. I think that's a bit contrived and not particularly convincing, but that is a widely cited example of the Hebrew language. I don't know if it is. I consider it general Semitic. It's early enough that these distinctions that we talk about rely on polities that have not yet arisen. So it's kind of silly to talk about these distinction of ethnicity or nation on inscriptions that are from getting up toward 1000 BC, a little bit less, according to Dr. Meshel, the primary archaeologist on the Kuntilat Ajrut site in Sinai Peninsula / the Negev. So my argument was that a Greek borrowing into Hebrew requires the existence of Greek and Hebrew, whereas cognates in earlier languages like Ugaritic that disappeared at the Bronze Collapse, and Akkadian, which has older and newer versions, but there's a lot of there's some squishiness in Mediterranean, the Iraqi languages, speaking roughly. Mesopotamia. I'm sorry, that's the word that I couldn't remember. Mesopotamian languages. If you're anything like me, you might get a little bit confused at talking about anything after Sumerian, because Sumerian is certainly comprehensible enough, but everything after that, Old Babylonian, Old Akkadian, Neo-Babylonian, New Akkadian, and there's some other terms too. Those all kind of become they swirl in my head, and partly because there is some overlap among them, and there's only overlap geographically, not precise overlap, but we're talking about a pretty big area here. So my argument was that if it's within these Semitic tongues this early, it's probably not a Greek loan into Hebrew at the year. It must have been like, I don't know, 500, if you wanted that to happen. So that was one of my arguments, and that was having to do with. I'll say this again. I'll just read Captain Haddock's comment again, so we all know where we're at. This is the one I was responding to. Hebrew Betula seems borrowed from Greek Parthenos. Same meaning, with metathesis and the following standard consonant shifts: P and B and R and L. By the way, that's not metathesis. That is a total remaking. They're just, it doesn't sound anything alike. I hope laughter is okay for ASMR. Is that not soothing? I'm sorry if it's not, but I can't help laughing. That's not metathesis. Metathesis is a simple swapping, like I guess ask me a question is metathesis. Things like that. Watching a film in Jamaica instead of watching a film in America. Usually your metathesis examples are from like 2-syllable words where it'll sound more flippy floppy, but I think those count too. I bet, and that's what came to mind. So I don't think that's metathesis, and I would love to see the argument that says P/B and R/L are standard consonant shifts. The second relation I made to this Parthenos argument was a Pilgesh argument. Hebrew Pilgesh concubine may be from Greek. The fuck? Sorry, I didn't mean to swear in ASMR. Pilgesh. So I wasn't even trying to answer about that one. I was trying to answer about the other one. But I found Pilgesh in Halat. That is the big biblical Hebrew dictionary. That sucks. There are problems with biblical Hebrew. Probably because it's biblical. And it's weighed down under a couple thousand years of exegesis or exegesis. I still don't know which is the way that people usually pronounce that word. Even though I use it a lot, I guess I should probably look that up in a dictionary as well. By the way, if you hear a non-soothing voice in the background, I greatly apologize. I feel terrible about that. I feel terrible about that non-soothing, frightening, intense, yelling, strident voice every day. Because I happen to live in an abusive house. The people who work here, I'm disabled, so this is a house for disabled people, and it's rotten. It's abusive. I just finished requesting a lawyer from Disability Rights Oregon. And they said, what for? On their form. And I said, well, it's for retaliatory eviction in retaliation for reporting the abuse that goes on here against yours truly. And this is abuse that I got on camera. I recorded it 2 days ago. She got physical with me. Again, it's not the first time. Abusers always escalate, and I was so scared about this that I asked her on Tuesday for a promise not to. I said, don't touch me again. Tell me you're not going to touch me again. Of course, she got mad, started yelling, started lying, interrupted me, etc. It's an old routine. But I did get her to say, I won't touch you. Guess what happened the very next day? That's right. She got physical with me again. And I've got myself, I was recording it when she pushed me into the wall. She does this thing where she runs straight into you to scare you. And if you jump out of the way, I guess that's what she wants. If you don't scare, if you steadfast, she runs straight into you, as if to tackle. It's a good thing that I have the stability to stay upright, but she pushed me right against the wall with a big thump. Very frightening, very unpleasant, very illegal, I should think. But the abuse line that I talked to in this rotten county, well, they were not nice to me. They were dismissive, rude, way too playful. And somebody advised me to call them again. I called them again and I said, here are my concerns based on what happened last time. Can you reassure me that you're not gonna call my abusers instead of calling me back, open me up to retaliation, never talk to me again, talk to the people at the county who just make friends with these rotten people, make nice with them, dismiss me, and just try to, well, they're bootlickers basically, but these people, they don't wear boots. They wear slippers, go barefoot. Very distasteful. Yeah, it sucks. It really, really sucks. I've got very important things to do to try to ensure my survival. But instead of helping me put my life back together, these empty, abusive people are sucking up all my time and energy with their mistreatment, human rights violations, disability rights violations, violations of my rights as a multiply diagnosed person with multiple disabilities, and a couple of those are transgender disabilities because I happen to be transgender as well. And surprise, surprise, they're not exactly accepting of that. They're jerks about it. They say discriminatory things. They call me insulting language. Even though they reassured me first thing that they loved queers and they were going to respect my journey. They even use some offensive language that doesn't even apply to me. It doesn't have anything to do with being trans or autistic or anything else. One time she says, when I tried to communicate with her and share my needs, she says, I ain't nobody's house N-word. I was shocked because first of all, I didn't think anybody even remembered this term. I didn't remember it. I think I heard it once when I was a little kid. It's very distasteful. It's so ugly. I thought it was so far in the rearview mirror, and everyone here is white, as far as I can tell. So it's nonsensical too. But that's the one that I thought the abuse lines would really, and the people in charge generally, I thought that that's one that they would respond to. That's one of the things that happened earlier here. I ain't nobody's house N-word. Yuck. I don't even like saying it that way. I'll censor it. It makes me really uncomfortable. But I guess the county's comfortable with it. Because even though that some of the people I'm talking to at the county happen to be women of color, they're still fascist as hell. They still don't care about this kind of thing. It's pretty sad. I'm never gonna stop being surprised, disappointed, shocked, and scandalized by what power does, how bad it is at the bottom. Now that I've got a low status as a person, I'm subjected to treatment that I just thought it wasn't possible. I thought the world was kinder than this, but I keep finding out just how rotten our world is, just how fascist the entire structure of our capitalist society is. At every level, there's somebody pissing down, stomping down. And if you go below levels, you go, oh, let's go to lower status people. Look at the lower part of the triangle. Eventually, you'll get to the people who run this joint. So we got a rotten slumlord, who's a low status person. I don't know how to say it, but these are culturally poor people. You know what I mean? So you look at the bottom of the totem pole, and then you dig the soil out around a little bit underneath. You can see who's below the bottom of the totem pole, and that's yours truly. And it sucks. It sucks down here. It really, really sucks down here. I want a lawyer. I want a home that's safe. I deserve a safe home, I think. I want to go to college. I just want to go to college and talk about etymologies. Talk about other aspects of my research. I don't deserve this shit. It's rotten. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And if you can hear Kim right now, this is about the quietest she ever gets. This is about the most pleasant that she ever gets. Even though she's throwing dishes around, talking loud enough on the phone so everybody around can hear it. Just basically being big as she can, taking up all the space. Projecting her brittle weakness as loudly as she can all over the place, just to maintain an atmosphere of her being the boss, I guess. But for her, that requires creating an atmosphere of intimidation that's quite constant. Yeah, this is the most pleasant she ever gets. And if you can hear her, you're probably saying it's not that bad, because This is the best she gets. Oh, it sounds like that's the boss down there too. I hear Tracy as well. Wow, she's been really quiet too for Tracy. She's usually so loud. Maybe I should splice in some of my recordings that I made the other day of some of the scary stuff that was going on. That would be quite the opposite of ASMR. I actually had this idea from some of my previous recordings when I tried to do ASMR the first time, and I had some recordings of me talking to people on the phone who treat me like dirt, and talking to the people who work here who treat me worse than dirt. And I was gonna put one in the left channel and one in the right channel. So you would have ASMR over here, and you would have people yelling at me over here. I thought that was funny. I still might do that. I've still got the file kind of set up over there. So just the thing that I was trying to say earlier was that I found a meaning of separate as possibly as the source of a word that's real close to Betula, the word for virgin in Hebrew that we've been talking about, and Pilagesh, which also Pilagesh and Betula, they can both refer to a woman, a young woman, as a anatomically kind of like as a womb, as a woman's anatomy before, as a woman herself, kind of.
Jeff, I think your dinner's out there.
Great, I'll be out there. Thank you for letting me know. And this one, Hebrew Laish, lion, from Lis. I don't know a Greek word, Lis, for lion. I've never heard of that. But if that's right, Laish is the city of Dan. Laish is the name of Dan city from, I don't remember the verse, but I've suspected that there's some Greek ethnic origin to the tribe of Dan because of some of the navigational seafaring references that show up around Dan in some of the oldest stuff, like the Song of Deborah. There's a reference to Dan being on their boats. Seafaring might mean Greek, so if the name of their city was from a non-Hebrew loanword meaning lion, that would maybe be some more suggestion that there could be a Greek origin of Dan. Well, it's been 38 minutes, and I have talked about 2 etymologies here. I guess it's good to know that I can at least talk. Is that a good thing? Thank you for listening. I love you. You are special. You are valuable. You're great. You deserve to be happy. Thank you for being here with me. Somebody out there, please help me.